Deep in the heart of the vast, sun-drenched savanna, where the acacia trees dotted the golden landscape like sentinels, lived a young cheetah named Chico. Chico was famous for one thing above all else, his incredible speed. He absolutely loved to run. Every morning, as the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, Chico would stretch his long, graceful limbs and then, whoosh, he'd be off, a blur of spots and muscle, racing across the plains. The wind whistling through his fur was his favorite song, the rhythmic thud of his paws on the earth his favorite beat. He loved the feeling of freedom, the sensation of the world zipping by in a beautiful, colorful streak. He could outrun the wind, chase the clouds, and playfully dart between the legs of towering giraffes. For Chico, life was a race, and he was always in first place. One bright afternoon, after a particularly exhilarating sprint, Chico stopped for a drink at a wide, shallow river. The water sparkled under the midday sun, cool and inviting. As he lapped up the refreshing water, he spotted a group of young antelopes on the far bank. They looked hesitant, nervously shuffling their hooves at the water's edge. They were just little ones, their legs still a bit wobbly, and the river, though shallow, seemed like a huge obstacle to them. Chico's heart, always as fast as his feet, leaped with a desire to help. He thought, I'm the fastest animal around. I can get them across in no time. Without a second thought, he bounded into the river, calling out, Don't worry, little friends, follow me. I'll show you the quickest way across. With his usual lightning speed, Chico dashed through the water, creating big splashes that shimmered like diamonds in the sunlight. He reached the other side in a flash, turning back with a proud grin, expecting to see the little antelopes right behind him. But they weren't. They were still at the edge, looking even more frightened than before. Chico had stirred up the muddy riverbed, making the smooth, submerged stones incredibly slippery. One brave little antelope took a tentative step into the water, but its hoof slid, and it stumbled, bleeding in fear. The others huddled together, too scared to even try. Chico's confident smile faded. He realized that his speed, the very thing he was so proud of, had made the situation worse. Rushing ahead hadn't helped at all. It had made the crossing dangerous for his small, delicate friends. A wave of understanding washed over Chico, clearer and cooler than the river water itself. He saw the fear in the young antelope's eyes and knew he had to change his approach. His speed wasn't what they needed right now. They needed a friend. They needed patience. Taking a deep, calming breath, Chico slowly waded back into the river. This time, he moved with careful, deliberate steps. He walked over to the most frightened little antelope and nuzzled its head gently. It's okay, he said in a soft, reassuring voice. I was going too fast. Let's try again. Together, one step at a time. He found a path where the stones were larger and less slippery, testing each one with his own paw before guiding the first antelope. He stayed right beside it, offering a steady presence as it carefully placed one hoof after another. Soon, the first little one was safely across, its tail wagging with relief and gratitude. Seeing their friend make it safely, the other antelopes found their courage. Chico went back for each one, patiently guiding them along the same safe path. He didn't rush. He didn't hurry. He moved at their pace, encouraging them with soft words and a gentle nudge whenever they hesitated. He showed them where to step, waited for them to feel secure, and celebrated each small victory as they progressed. It took much longer than his usual dash, but when the last little antelope stepped onto the dry bank, the feeling of accomplishment was far greater than any race he had ever won. The antelopes gathered around him, nuzzling him thankfully. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the savanna, Chico walked home, his heart full. He had learned a very important lesson that day. He realized that being the fastest isn't always what matters most. True strength and true friendship often comes from slowing down, being patient, and caring for those around you. Sometimes, The best way to help someone is not to show them how fast you can go, but to walk beside them at their own pace. And Chico knew, as he watched the grateful antelopes rejoin their families, that this was a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life. Being a good friend was the best prize of all. From that day on, Chico was still the fastest cheetah on the savannah. He still loved the feeling of the wind in his fur and the thrill of a good run. But he was different. He had discovered the joy of slowing down. He would often stop his sprints to play with the meerkat pups, moving slowly so he wouldn't scare them. He'd walk alongside the old tortoise, listening to his long, fascinating stories about the old days of the savannah. He learned to appreciate the tiny details he had always zoomed past before, the intricate patterns on a butterfly's wings, the sweet scent of the wildflowers after a rain, the way the sunlight filtered through the leaves of the baobab trees. His world became richer, more colorful, and filled with more friends than he ever thought possible. One day, a great storm swept across the savannah. The wind howled, and rain fell in heavy sheets, causing the river to swell into a raging torrent. Many of the smaller animals were trapped on one side, unable to cross the dangerous, fast-flowing water. Fear rippled through the communities. But then, a familiar spotted figure appeared. It was Chico. He didn't rush in this time. He remembered his lesson. He found a spot where a large, fallen tree had formed a natural bridge, though parts of it were submerged and slippery. He knew he couldn't just tell everyone to follow. He had to lead with care. Chico was the first to cross the log, moving slowly, testing its stability. Then, he went back and organized the other animals. He had the larger ones, like the zebras and wildebeests, form a protective line along the upstream side of the log to break the force of the current. Then, he personally guided the smallest and most frightened animals across, one by one. He held the paws of the mongoose family. He let the baby warthogs hold onto his tail, and he carried the tiniest field mice on his back. His calm demeanor and patient guidance gave everyone courage. It took hours, a long, tiring effort for everyone involved. But under Chico's careful direction, every single animal made it safely to the other side. He wasn't just Chico the Fast anymore. He was Chico the Friend, Chico the Leader. As the last rays of sun broke through the clouds after the storm, the animals gathered around Chico, their hearts filled with gratitude. They hadn't just survived the storm. They had come together as a community, led by a cheetah who understood that true speed is measured not just in how quickly you can run, but in how patiently you can lead. Chico looked at all the new friends he had, all the lives he had touched simply by learning to slow down and care. He felt a warmth in his chest that was more satisfying than any victory in a race. He had found his true purpose. It wasn't about being the fastest, but about using his strengths, both speed and patience, to make the world a better, safer place for everyone. And as he lay down to rest that night, under a sky full of stars, Chico the Cheetah smiled. He knew that the greatest adventures don't always come from running fast, but from the journey you take with your friends, one careful, loving step at a time. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe for more wonderful stories.